Shyam, thank you so much for joining us. As we start, can you talk maybe a little bit about your current role and what's in your purview?
Absolutely. Thanks, Misha, for having me here. Shyam Bhojwani. I'm Director of Business Technology and Security Ops at Workato. So
Mhm.
I do both things, IT and security ops together. So I get to define the policies. I also get to implement the same. So I do like system administration, security ops, endpoint security, internal cloud security, and
Mhm.
improving Workato's security posture.
I understand. I understand. And so that's kind of like your position now, but what was the start? How did you get into the space?
So I got into this space through, I started my career as a developer. So
Mhm.
I did development for almost 2 years, then got into IT service management. And interestingly, I used to sit very close to our security, legal, and compliance team, right? So that was my like first experience when it comes to security. My education is in computer science. I have like a
Mhm.
bachelor's and master's. So when I started sitting next to security during my role at ITG, now Virtu Financial Services, so I used to always like hear so many conversation that we have to improve our security posture. We need to do this. And me being in the IT system administration side, I was asked to make these changes, right? So
Mhm.
that kind of inspired me. The fun of security to see how to deal with incidents. So that really got me interested. And then my passion for security along with IT, it kind of went up. I was like, oh, I want to do something in security. I'm going to learn. And the good thing is the experience I got from development, IT, system administration. I've also been a Jira admin in my past life.
Mhm.
That kind of set me up for the security role, right? Because
Mhm.
with security, it's not about just policies, but having that business technology context, how
Mhm.
business works, how systems talk to each other. And
Mhm.
and I think that really set me up for the security transition, right? It was a smoother transition to get into security.
Certainly, certainly. And it's kind of gives connecting the dots and kind of
Mhm.
where you started, where you're now. For someone who's kind of maybe more junior and a little bit earlier in their career, what would be your advice from kind of your vantage point? What in your view they should focus on? What are the kind of the top three things they should do at their kind of earlier stage to set them up for success?
For sure. So probably three important things that come to my mind. Uh, don't shy away from experimentation. Security is all about experimenting, getting your hands dirty, setting up VMs, clusters, and trying it out yourself, right? It's good to get the bookish knowledge. It's good to learn about patterns framework from security. But when you start actually doing things, it gives you a different perspective.
Hmm.
So don't shy away from trying things out. So that would be number one. Second thing is I've always benefited from having mentors who have kind of helped me shape my career, set me up for like what should I be doing when I'm stuck with certain things. So reach out to your network, right? Security is also about talking to people, learning from their experience, learning from their security journey, right? I benefit a lot from like going to different events, doing public speaking, and
Hmm.
also reaching out to people like if you see someone from security, just ask them about their journey, ask them about their tools, their processes, right? There's go that gets you like 10 years of experience in the first go, right? When you
For
talk to
sure.
someone, right? So so
Well,
so that
it's
would
yeah. Go ahead.
yeah. So that was second. And third is staying up to date with news articles, what's happening in the industry, right? Because again, going back to the same point, talking to people is great, but seeing what's happening across the industry, looking at past security incidents, that gives you a clarity like what's happening, what companies are doing, and that's the best way to learn about security.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It makes a lot of sense. It's actually, well, some of the points that you're raising kind of they echo with some of the other conversations that we had in the previous interviews. Absolutely, kind of the um, kind of getting your hands dirty and kind of understanding a lot of different aspects, mentorship. It's some These are some of the things that come up time and again. So it definitely makes a lot of sense. So it's obviously there are kind of so many different issues and challenges
Mhm.
these days between ransomware and phishing attacks and third-party risk, and some of them uh, probably will continue in 2023 as we
Right.
get closer to the end of the year. But some of them maybe not as top of
Mhm.
mind, but kind of more of emerging. Like imagine you had a crystal ball and you can see into the future 6 months from now, 12 months from now. What do you think will be the top three challenges for
Mhm.
cybersecurity executives? They could be
Uh,
some of them are currently top of mind now, but
mhm.
in 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 1 year's time, approximately, what do you think will be the top three biggest issues for everyone?
Sure. So I would say 2022 has been interesting. Economically, we have seen number of security attacks go up in the last 6 to 8 months. I think the trend will continue from cyber incidents going up, right? With like recession, everyone's being asked to do more. So probably the one big thing I anticipate for 2023 is security attacks mainly on supply chain, right? You call it supply chain software security attacks. So I think that will still continue to go up because we are in this great cloud era, SaaS era. We have so much dependency on third-party frameworks, SDKs, SaaS products, right? So I anticipate 2023 to be full of that. Uh, it will be interesting to see how budgets get impacted in 2023, especially like someone who's also into IT. Everyone's being mindful of budget, right? But the thing is, you don't want to put your guard down. You still want to be active. You still want to invest in the right security tools and product. But I would say supply chain software security is going to be up there with like S-bomb gaining so much popularity, the Software Bills of Materials Act. I think that has opened up a interesting perspective to a lot of executives, security practitioners. So I
Hmm.
would say that and also cloud security, right? Cloud security is going to be a upgoing trend in 2023, right? Because with cloud, it's a shared responsibility, right? It's not just you're going to get directly from the cloud provider.
Hmm.
So I see cloud security and software supply chain security still gaining a lot of momentum in 2023.
Hmm. I understand. I understand. It makes a lot of sense. Um, and it seems like most of the issues are kind of somewhat top of mind now for a lot of professionals, but certainly it seems like they will only grow in importance
Exactly.
in 2023. Um, Excellent. So I guess switching gears a little bit, I
Mhm.
at Athenia we always looking for kind of new ways to provide value to members, and sometimes we try new things, and sometimes they
Mhm.
work, and then we double down on them, and sometimes they don't, and kind of roll them
Right.
back. But we're always curious to find, because obviously there are other associations and
Right.
other um, Slack channel groups and conferences. There is kind of more than one
Right.
venue, obviously, for something like this. So I'm always curious to hear
Mhm.
feedback in terms of, from your perspective, what do you find valuable that we should do more of or continue doing? What is maybe redundant or not as useful that we should probably stop? And what's missing? What's
Mhm.
something that you've seen maybe somewhere that would make a lot of sense, but we're maybe not focusing right now?
Firstly, I would say kudos to you guys. You are building an awesome community. So I definitely benefit from the community. The content is pretty engaging, right? Uh, Everyone's being overloaded with so much information. But when I see emails from the community, it's like single email and you start on a positive note, right? Like, hope you won this week. So that kind of makes me smile, makes me start on a positive note. So I would say continue doing that, right? Uh, with so much happening in cybersecurity, uh, people are scared about security roles, right? Like when you think about CISO, senior leadership. So I would say keep it concise as you guys do it. Paint the story to all the viewers so that rather than spending 20 25 minutes trying to understand what's happening, one email which tells me what's happening across the security landscape, what's happening across the world. So I would say keep up the good work from that
Hmm.
perspective. And when I think about feedback, I would say video would be a good addition, right? Where like I would say something that we both are doing, right? Someone who does like a 2-minute video, because videos are easy to digest. I love reading books, but I think I'm transitioning more towards audio video format, right?
Hmm.
I can remember content. So I would say that would be one thing, to have like more video focused content. And so that's that. And probably also talk more about what the best practices you are seeing, not just from like some companies across the globe, right? Like,
Hmm.
for example, if there's a new security role that's opening up, would love to know about like, oh, is it a CISO role or a BISO role, right? Business Information Security Officer. That's becoming a popular role. So
Hmm.
that would be my two things that I would love to see.
Hmm.
But your content is crisp. It makes me start on a positive note. So don't change that.
Well, you made my day. But do you think so we kind of by design we started in text only because I know
Mhm.
HTML images sometimes they get caught in spam filters and
Right.
whatnot. But also, I mean, and for someone who's in cybersecurity, phishing is such a huge deal. And
Mhm.
anytime you see a link, you're kind of wondering
Right.
where is that link going? And that's the reason why the links are
Deep.
naked, so you can actually see the URL where it's going. So you can see if, oh, it's a job board site or
Right.
it's the career section of that site. So you always know what you're clicking on.
Legit ring.
But part of me is like it kind of looks ugly, for I guess for like a better term, than just like a wall of links. I mean, do you think it's something we should kind of clean it up and make it more, I guess, readable and hide the links, or should we keep it the way it is? We I'm talking to my colleagues here, and we kind
Mhm.
of split 50-50. So we would love to get feedback.
I think keep it the way it is, because if someone is a security practitioner, we always worry about links, right? So you
For
are
sure.
kind
That's
of
that's exactly
following
that's
exactly right.
exactly the reason why they're naked, because we'll all when us show people that we're not, so
Mhm.
that they know exactly.
It's
Uh,
legit.
Right. And obviously, if anything, you can just highlight the headline and
Yep.
then find it on Google if you don't want to click on the link to kind of see an alternative source. Okay, fair
Right.
enough. The one specific question that we
Mhm.
kind of the two things were would be big initiatives for us in 2023 is that one is uh, after COVID, it seems like everyone is tired. Um, with all the Zoom meetings and virtual
Mhm.
events. I think people are more keen on meeting face to face. And the reason I know that,
Right.
well, first we talked to members, but also I personally attended RSA in Black Hat this year, and I was overwhelmed
Mhm.
just how many people showed up. So
Right.
we'll definitely intend to double down on that, both in terms
Mhm.
of like happy hours, lunches, dinners that are
Mhm.
local, just for people who maybe different industries, different kind of
Right.
positions, but are local to a certain metro area. That's and so we certainly looking forward to doing more of those in 2023. And the
Nice.
second one is we are just about to launch in a few days a Slack community, and it's just a
Mhm.
way for people to connect directly. And there will be certain channels where you can see some of the same content, maybe more in real time about the jobs, about events, about who was appointed and promoted, but also there will be a way to ask questions about vendors. Hey, I'm looking at this through vendors. Uh, I don't have time to
Right.
do due diligence. Tell me if you had a good experience or bad experience, and or
Mhm.
hey, is it A or B? I mean, hey, I'm
Mhm.
putting a presentation for the board. Should I structure it this way? Should I structure it that way? So it's
Right.
kind of very tactical,
Mm.
vendor free. So that's kind of the intent. So
Mhm.
it's something we're very excited about. But again,
Nice.
it's only it will be only successful if it's useful.
Mhm.
Would love to get your feedback on some of the on those two initiatives.
Absolutely. So I absolutely agree. Last 2 or 3 years with COVID, with everyone being remote, I think people are eager now to meet in person. For
Mhm.
example, I was at the Cybersecurity Summit in NYC probably 2 weeks back. It was such a great event. I got a chance to talk to so many of my peers, and interestingly, I bumped into my old former colleagues from different companies, right? So, big fan of in person, again, bi-weekly, monthly, or quarterly, right? That definitely helps. It's nice to put a face to a name. Like, we've been seeing each other on Zoom for so long, right? So now it's time to go out, talk to people, of course, with the right guidelines, with the right
Mhm.
COVID protection, right? So a big supporter, would love to see more of these events, and focused events, right? Like, not just vendor specific, but talk to your peers, what's working, what's not working, strategy. I think the second topic that you touched upon, the Slack channel, love it, right? I'm a Slack fan. We are a Slack shop at my current company, previous company. I think Slack is an easy way to get your questions answered, tactically talk about strategy, and you get, like, I would say, crisp response, right? You ask a question and the community is always there to help you out. So, great idea. Thank you so much for doing that. I think a lot of business technologists and security practitioners would benefit from this, right?
Absolutely.
Because the role of CISOs, role of security practitioners is becoming more challenging, right? So it's good that the community is there to help each other. So we thank you for doing this. It's going to help a lot of us like me.
Excellent, excellent. Well, it's a cybersecurity is it's a team sport,
Exactly.
so it's I would love to kind of help there. Well, you mentioned you went to events, and some of them are uh, uh, vendor sponsored and things like this. We deal with a number of organizations that support Athenia, and we'll always get all the kind of different questions. So I'm
Mhm.
actually curious. If you look back, you don't have to name names, but if you look back
Yep.
like 6 months, 1 year, uh, what a cybersecurity vendor did that kind of impressed you in a positive way? And on the flip side of it, what are some of your pet peeves of what vendors do sometimes, to whether it's uh, constant emailing
Mhm.
or phone calls that are just non-starter for you? That what are some of the stories? You don't, again, you don't have to
Right, right.
protect the innocent. You don't have to kind of name names to put people on the spot, but kind of conceptually, what are
Sure.
some of the good, the bad, and the ugly?
For sure, for sure. So I think I'll start on a positive note. Again, not taking names, but I got a message from a vendor. They actually talked about, so they were not trying to sell their product. They were actually highlighting a common myth or issue that people have from, like, a data security perspective. So rather than just focusing on their product, they actually talked about what the problem is, what is the industry, how is the industry reacting to this problem, and the solution to this, right? And they put their product at the last. So for me, that was a good way to learn about a problem and I've dealt with that problem, right? So the approach was really well. You talk about problem, you're talking about solution, you're talking about different approaches, and that's when you talk about your product. So I love that idea, right? Because it educated me about an interesting problem that a lot of my peers are seeing. And I know that I have this company to benchmark or look into. So I felt that was super informative. And it was not like a long 20 lines email. It was 6 lines, pretty concise. And it kind of got me interested that, oh, I need to do more research into this, or speak with my peers about this problem. So that's my good story, like, from a vendor perspective. And probably, I mean, a bad story again. We all get those emails, constant phone calls, and so, yeah. I mean, haven't seen anything worst, right? It's a common approach that people take. I can't think of a bad story because you receive so many emails. I try to go through these emails, right? Because sometimes when you go through these products, it's actually solving something that's going to have a huge impact for your company, right? So can't think of a bad story, but yeah, I would say uh, give people an email chance, phone chance, and if they are not responding, give them some time back, right? Because everyone's doing so much with so little time. So constant outreach is good, but I would say threshold it, right? Like, let's say I'm going to give 3 tries. If I don't hear back, I'm not going to reach out. So that would be my only advice.
For sure, for sure. Well, thanks for sharing. I think the worst I heard is vendors sending calendar invites
Oh,
without without
without even asking.
without asking, without the kind of previous
Yeah,
conversation. They're just kind of hoping that somehow people will accept. I think that's the most aggressive that when I
absolutely.
heard that, I was like, this is definitely
Too
definitely
much.
not a way to
Yeah,
get banned, I guess, for or blacklisted somehow. Awesome.
for
Well, Shyam,
sure.
thank you so much for taking your time for this interview. I think it was also fun. For kind of members, where can they find you? Are you on LinkedIn? Are you on Twitter? What's the best way to connect?
Sure, sure. I'm active on LinkedIn, right? I'm always up for talking about security or best practices. So you can find me on LinkedIn.
Awesome. And the last thing, I guess, as you mentioned, if you're a Slack shop, we're kind of very excited and a little bit nervous about launching the Slack community. Would love to get your feedback, maybe as a sidebar conversation at some point.
Absolutely. Happy to do that.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.